Okay, thanks for coming to our friend tryouts. We just have a few questions to see if you'd be a good match for us. If you could date one of our mothers, which would you date?
Have you ever been to prison?
You know that one thing you did that one time with that one person? Why did you do that?
You got any Yo Mama jokes?
Do you think Jesus was good at bowling?
I don't suppose you could teach us how to Dougie, per se, but could you teach us how to knit?
Where do babies come from? Be specific.
Sing your favorite Air Supply song.
Do you believe in corporal punishment? And what's your favorite way to see someone die?
How much time do you spend skipping when no one is looking?
So from like 1 to needy, where do you fall?
Did you lie about liking Celine Dion music back in 1995?
Do you hear voices in your head?
If I were paralyzed from the neck down, would you spoon feed me pudding? I don't think so. No.
Good morning. Welcome to Salem Grace. Don't you wish you could interview some of your friends like that? Has anybody ever done that? I don't know. Well, we're gonna talk a little bit about that this morning, and hopefully you won't put your friends through that rigorous of an interview. But we're going to talk a little bit about something that's really, really important to our church and to this body of Christ that we call Salem Grace, and that is the friends that we have here, but really more importantly, how we connect on a personal level with each other in our walk with Christ. And so, it's good to be back this morning. We took our daughter back to Up to Olivet this past week, and on our way back home, we had to stop and swing through a hospital to get Cheryl an IV because she had lost so much fluid from crying. She was a little dehydrated. Joking, of course, but it's been an interesting week. But we've been praying. We were praying for you guys as Pastor Mark was here preaching, and been praying and spent a lot of time over the last several weeks talking about vision and really talking about serving and getting engaged. And I'm really excited about the response that we've received. But I talk about you talk about what our vision is at Salem Grace, and one of the things that I've just been convinced of is that it's just people. Our vision is just lost people, and how we're reaching and growing and serving lost people. And, we saw I loved watching some of the videos of the hurricane. I don't love that, but just I loved watching the videos where people were actually helping and doing everything to just go out of their way to help people. And that's really my vision of Salem Grace. And I spent a lot of time thinking and praying about that. I really do. And as the pastor of this church, and trying to determine where it is that God's leading us, and how I can do what my part to do to lead you guys in that direction. But really, my job description and everything that we do around here needs to fit into reach, grow, and serve, and how we're doing that. And so I just always keep coming back. The Lord always leads me back to Matthew chapter 28, 18 through 20, and that's the Great Commission. And if you've been around the church for a while, you know what the Great Commission is. And you know that if you're new to church, then you know that I'll just tell you, the Great Commission is this passage of Scripture that's in the last part of Matthew, where before Jesus left this earth, after he was resurrected and he met with his disciples and he ascended into heaven, he left us with really these words. It was Jesus' last words to us. It was really his last commandment to his disciples and really to all of us as Christians, and if we consider ourselves followers of Jesus Christ. And it's this, I just want to read it. It says, Jesus came and told his disciples, I have been given all authority in heaven and earth. In other words, God has given me complete authority. So I am the final authority. I am the Word. I am it. And this is what I'm telling you to do. And then he says in verse 19, therefore, and I underlined this, go and make disciples of all nations. And so I would ask you this morning, how are you making disciples? It's not like Trent Ice is saying, hey, I really think it's a good idea for you to go make disciples. Jesus Christ himself told us to go make disciples. That was his final words on earth. Of all the words that he could have chosen before he left this earth, it was to go and make disciples. And so baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, we're going to get to do that next week. So I think we're doing a good job in that, baptizing. And I'm telling you, I get to kind of pre-read some of these stories on occasion, and you are not going to want to miss next week. baptism. Just not that you want to ever miss any of them, but I'm just really excited about the folks that are and what God is doing in their life. But baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, teach these new disciples to obey. And that's the one that as pastors and staff of your church that I scratch my head on. Because that is, okay, Jesus, I know we're supposed to go make disciples. We're supposed to go, out in the world. We're supposed to connect with people. And how are we supposed to teach them to obey? And it's not just my job. It's all of ours. If we're followers of Jesus Christ, if we consider ourselves a disciple, a believer, a follower of Jesus Christ, you should be making disciples and you should be teaching them to obey. So how do we do that? And that's a question that we rack our brain on all the time, because this is what he told us to do, and he says, teach them to obey all of the commands that I have given you, and be sure of this, I am with you always. And then he left. It's kind of funny. But I am with you always, even to the end of the age. So he sent his Holy Spirit. We know that he's with us today, right? So of all those things, we have 3 jobs, I think, that Jesus left us with. We have to reach, grow, and serve, which really we have to go and make disciples, which is reach. We have to grow disciples, and we grow people, and we have to teach them to obey, because that's what Jesus told us, right? We're supposed to teach each other to obey the commandments that Jesus left us with, and then serve. I just spent 4 weeks talking about serving, and I'm telling you what, I have been blown away at the response of this church, and people that are getting excited, and I love it, because I can begin to see that God is doing something already in their life, just for the fact that they have said yes. Yes, I'm willing to step out of my comfort zone. Yes, I'm willing to serve in some capacity, and I'm really excited. We've gotten an overwhelming response. We still have the Say Yes wall up there. If you haven't had an opportunity to connect and find a place to serve, I encourage you to spend some time back there this morning after church. But we're getting ready to kick off Grow Groups. We have Crave that's getting ready to kick off. Grace Extreme is kicking off. Youth Loop, all of those things that we do to reach, grow, and serve people of all ages in our church. And that's really the purpose around why we do what we do. We're getting ready to do a Be Rich campaign, and we're going to talk about how we can begin to serve people in our community. Just so you know, I did some math, and I think 16 weeks from now, Christmas is here. So just giving you a little heads up if you want to start doing your shopping a little bit early. But before long, we'll have the Candy Cane Project, and we'll start, everybody will start giving kids, and we'll do a coat drive here at Grace Center, and we'll begin to serve our community in ways and I'm 100% convinced that if you are engaged in serving with the right attitude and on the right mindset, and that's a caveat there, because if you're engaged in serving and you're just grumpy about it, you're missing it. If you're engaged in serving, like, well, it's our stinking, you're mad at your spouse because she pulled some card off of the wall and signed you up for chair duty, and now you have to be here early, and you're not going to get the blessing, okay? You're missing it altogether. If you're just downright grumpy about serving, just don't do it, okay? But you're missing a blessing. But I'm excited. I'm completely convinced that if you're engaged in serving, you are going to be growing in some way, in some avenue. God is going to be using you. And so obviously there are several ways to do that a person grows. And I'm going to get through this quick, because you see the stools up here, and you're going to hear from some people here in a little bit. But I'm telling you, I think one of the most important things, the way that we grow, is through the people that we surround ourselves with, and the people that we engage with on a daily basis. So there was a quote that I've said here before that I've read from Craig Rochelle, and it says this: "Show me your friends, and I will show you your future." And that's interesting, isn't it? So what I want to do right now, if you have a second, if you take out your phone, if you have a piece of paper, if you have a pen, if you have something to write with, seriously, do it. I want to see some movement out there. Get your phone. I want you to just get your phone out, go to your notes or something, and I want you to list your top 5 friends. Okay? And I'm not talking about your spouse. Turn the lights on. Let's do this. Thank you. Everybody's like, where? I can't see. Wow. I can see you guys. That's pretty cool. But I want you to list your top 5 friends. Who are they? Who are the top 5 people in your friend circle right now? Who are they? And I'm not talking about your spouse and your immediate family. I'm not talking about don't put your dog on there. Don't write that on there. Don't list your imaginary friends. Those don't count. I'm talking about real, true friends that you have. Who are they? Because studies have shown, and this is interesting, studies have shown that we are a percentage of our top, we are a conglomerate of our top 5 friends. So I don't know. Studies have shown that you are an average of your 5 closest friends. So if you, finances, like if you have friends that are really good at their finances, probably chances are you're doing okay with your finances. Maybe your friends are, maybe you're a wild thing and you party all the time, and maybe your friends are there too. But that's interesting that maybe they're spiritually focused. Like it or not, you become the people that you run with and the people that you surround yourself with. And so let me just define friendship a little bit real quick. Here's Proverbs 17:17 says this, okay? And it says this, I think we have this, yeah. A friend is someone that you may or may not know well, who accepts your friend request on Facebook. This person is born to like and comment on your post and make you feel good about yourself. Proverbs 17:17. That's the Facebook version. I don't know if you have that Bible. If you have the Facebook Bible, that's the Facebook version. Somehow, we've come to the realization that that's what friends are. But here's what Proverbs 17:17 really says. It says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for time of adversity. Have you ever been in a time of adversity? Have you ever been there when you needed somebody? When you needed somebody that you knew that said, hey, I'm praying for it, and they actually meant it? I'm thankful I've got a bunch of little people that are starting this prayer group. I know they talked a little bit about it Sunday, but every week I get a text from these people and say, hey, I got one this morning. Thank you, Beth. It says, hey, I'm praying for you. And I know they mean it. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever been on the receiving end of that? That's awesome. I think there are reasons why friendships are declining, and I'm going to get through this quickly. We have increasing work hours. We work all the time. We don't have time for friends. Actually, Cheryl and I have actually made that comment before. I'm embarrassed to say. It's like, man, we don't, because really, Cheryl's probably my best friend. We do everything together, and we have a lot of friends, but it's like, man, I just don't have time for friends. I don't know. They're going to want me to help them move and all that garbage, and I just don't have time for that. I'd love to be your friend. I just don't have time to be your friend. And I think, we don't make time for friends in our life. Critical relationships in our lives. Rising divorce rates. You get this stuff, and I get that stuff. You get kids here and there, and friends take sides, and friendships break down. I think the biggest impact to why we see a declining friendships is the explosion of social media. I'm not opposed to it, don't get me wrong. I have Facebook, Twitter. It can be a great tool. But years ago, I don't know that I ever would have thought of picking up, like going to a phone in a restaurant and picking up and saying, loving dinner at Texas Roadhouse, hashtag steak life, see ya, click. Nobody does that. Who does that? Nobody would have ever called, like 10, 15, 20 years ago before social media, nobody ever would have called me and said, hey, I'm having oatmeal, breakfast, okay, bye. Who does that? The stuff we post out there. Hey, look at me. Okay. It's just this decline of, we're more concerned with sharing 140 characters or less. And we're less concerned with face-to-face interaction. I've shared this before, but, I don't know. Some of you will send a friend request. Like and if you've sent me a friend request and I haven't accepted it, I'm sorry. I'm just going to put that out there. Sometimes I get a bunch of them, and they're hackers. I just convinced that most of you people are hackers and are going to steal my life. Not that there's a lot to steal, but we get, like, you'll send a friend request, right? I kind of know him. I saw him at IGA. I'll send him a friend request. And you send that, but you would never, some of you would never actually go after church today and see somebody that you don't know and go, hey, will you be my friend? Nobody would do that. We've lost that ability to connect with one another face to face. We don't share face to face. Someone would, some of you have hundreds of likes, but are more alone than ever. Some of you, if you were honest, probably struggled to come up with 5 names to write on that list. The more I get involved in social media, the more I crave real, live, face-to-face interaction with people. Fellow Christian believers. I crave it. So, 2 things I want to share. Rediscovering the art of lost friendship. The first thing, be present. Be present, face to face, not thumb to thumb, not belly button to belly button, that's for your spouse. Friends to friends, face to face, be present in people's lives. Not thumb to thumb, be present, okay? Jesus didn't say, hey, read this book, follow me, be present. In other words, he said, come, let's do life together. That's what he said. Let's get up, have breakfast with each other. Let's put down our phones away at dinner. More kids, I read this too this week. It was crazy. More kids are complaining about their parents on their phones than vice versa. Did you know that? You know why? Because kids want your attention. They want to have a parent that's engaged in their lives and not, hold on a minute, just a second. I see it in my own life. I see it in my own family. It's only a phase. Cheryl watched this video, and if you want to YouTube it, it's called It's Only a Phase, Don't Miss It. And it's all about this little girl she's a little baby, and that's why we gave the little marbles today. But it's this little girl, and it's this video of how she's growing up, and because I've had that in my life recently. And I took my little girl, and I took her off and dropped her off at college, and I just realized how quickly 18 years have gone by, 20, in a blink of an eye. Don't miss engaging with each other and with people. Hebrews 10:24 says this, let us think about ways to motivate one another in acts of love and good works, and let us not neglect meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his returning is near. There's power in being present. The second thing is get open. And there's a new phobia growing in America. Now, I don't know if you realize this, but there's a brand new phobia that's growing in America, and it's rampant. And here it is. Are you ready for this? Tons of people are afraid to talk on the phone. You ever notice that? Like, we've got this new phobia of talking to people on the phone. Like, Cheryl will be texting somebody, why don't you just call him? No, I'll just text him. We have this phobia. If the phone rings, like my kid's phone rings, and it's a number that they don't recognize, they're like, oh no, what do I do? Say hello. How do we deal with it? We've developed into this culture where we're afraid. And here's the reason why. I think we let a lot of you guys see a number that you don't know, and it'll go to voicemail. Like, I sent somebody a message to, like, people panic when they feel like you have to talk to them on their phone. I sent somebody a message just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, and I was like, hey, when you give me a second, will you give me a call? I think it was Lindsay Hine, or somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they texted me back, and they were like, am I in trouble? No, I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk. It's like we have this phobia of like, oh no, what's going on? Why does he want to talk to me? It's just because we're human. Like, we've come to this, we want to control that conversation. Here's the thing. I think you can't edit a phone call. You can't type something out and go, oh, that doesn't sound good. Erase it and go back and correct it, make it sound just perfect, because it comes from the heart, and it's a conversation. People don't know how to share their heart anymore. Face to face. We're scared. And so I'm going to ask two couples to come up. Paul and Carol Jackson are here this morning. Come on up, Paul and Carol. And then Curtis and Jessica Skiles. And so they're going to come up, and here's the thing. I think when we learn to get open, and I read a quote this week that's awesome, and it says this: we impress people with our strengths, but we connect with people through our weakness. And so today I'm wearing this red, you've seen some people wearing these red shirts, and I can't read it. Do for a few, I think is what it says. I'm red, green, colorblind, so the red I have issues with. But it says do for a few. And so we're talking this morning, really the purpose of this is in your seats, you have these little catalogs. But and we've been talking about grow groups, and we're giving you an opportunity here in a second to get engaged face to face with people. To start establishing some friendships with people who are Christians and believers. I assume that's why you're here this morning, is you want to grow in your relationship with Jesus Christ. Some of you may be here out of obligation. Some of you may be here just because you had nothing better to do. I don't know. But I wanted these guys to come up because I think, in our church, we tend to have this belief that, well, it's the old people and young people. And it's not that way. Not that you're old. Not that you're old or young either. But I think we have this separation, and I think we have these generational gaps in our church. The fact of the matter is, I don't care. I could care less about any of that, because we're all the body of Christ. And so I asked Paul and Carol, because I think they represent a part of the body of our church here this morning that's been to church, been there forever. And so I asked them to come and just share. And I wanted them to share. I asked these guys to come share their grow group experience, because I think it's unique, both of them. And so Carol and Paul, I would like to start with you guys. Been a part of the church forever, been here forever, been engaged in community of our church, served as a Sunday school teacher, all of that. Talk to me, Carol, just about what you had to get your head wrapped around of when we first introduced grow groups.
Well, when they were first introduced, we didn't say, oh boy, let's go for it. Because we come from the generation of Sunday school, and it was hard to get our head wrapped around it. And we went to our first group, and on the way home said, what do we get ourselves into? It was new, it was out of our comfort zone. And it took a few weeks to really understand that our church was growing, it was getting bigger, it would be impossible to greet and meet everyone every Sunday at every service. Therefore, if you plugged into a grow group, it was like a small church, a small Sunday school class. You could get to know and love and share with that group. Well, the first group we plugged into was a 30-mile round trip for us to get to that group. We decided driving after dark for senior citizens was not a great idea. So we didn't really unplug from that group for any other reason than the distance and, the night hours. And then we plugged into another group who met during earlier evening and closer to our home. And it worked out very, very good, and we were very connected until the leader of the group said that he felt like he needed to take some time off. And I thought, well, wonder who our new leader will be. And then somebody spoke up and said, I think it ought to be Carol. I thought, I don't think so. But nevertheless, I thought, well, if God's leading me to do this, then maybe that's what we should be doing. Because at our age, you give up a lot of things when you get, to be senior citizens and beyond that. And we found out in this group that there's things we can still do. We still laugh together. We still cry together. We still share things together. So you never get too old to plug in to a group. And, we don't have, what do we do with the children with the terrible twos? We have no terrible twos in our group. But and where we meet is separate from where we have our fellowship. We meet at Dunahee Realty at their conference room, and Jeff sets up each week for that. And then after we finish with the sermon notes and our prayer time is wonderful. We really have a lot of prayer requests, and we go through that. And we have missions that we support, and we enjoy doing that. But then we pick a restaurant. It's getting harder to find restaurants that you can scoot tables together. But there are a few restaurants in town that know us as the Nazarene group, and some of us, we've even had restaurant owners say, your group laughs more than anybody that comes in here. Then we've had others that say, you're too loud. But that works out okay.
I love it. One of the things that Carol and her group, and they've got a great group that has been, I don't think you've ever missed, have you? You guys?
15 months I've been.
15 months, and they've never missed meeting together. It's a beautiful thing. And one of the things I love about Carol, I don't know if you know, but they usually sit in the back here, and take little notes. She has tons of notes, takes notes during my message, and they discuss that in their grow group. And I don't know if you realize this, Carol, but I read this week that 98% of people who take notes in church make it to heaven. So, yeah, congratulations.
That's good news.
Good. I know I have more people taking notes. Oh, man, I got to get a pen. Well, I wanted to quickly, for the sake of time, this is Curtis and Jessica Skiles. A little bit different story for you guys. Been at our church for a year. Last Easter was the first time you guys came to our church, right? Yes. More or less weren't attending church, correct? Before about a year ago. So tell us about your experience, Curtis or Jessica, if you guys want to share. And she's like, this is out of her comfort zone.
This is very much out of my comfort zone. So we came to church last Easter for the first time. Didn't really know what to expect, and we were very excited and happy that we had come, and decided that we wanted to continue to come. Our niece had invited us to, they had just started Starting Point at that point, and she invited us to go, and again, out of our comfort zone. I am very shy around people, and so that night it came time, and I was laying in bed, and we got a text from Josie that said, hey, are we going? And I said, no, I don't think so. I'm comfortable. I'm in bed. And I can't ever tell her no. So it started to eat at me, and I said, all right, fine, we'll go. Didn't know what to expect. Very awkward going to somebody's house that we didn't know, and around around a lot of people that we didn't know. But are we so happy that we went? Because it brought us out of our comfort zone. I was not raised in church. Curtis was a little bit, but we didn't know a lot. And so it really helped to bring us closer to God, and form a better relationship with Him. And then it helped me on my path to start forgiving, because I had a lot of things that I needed to work on there. And then from there, we've gone through Starting Point twice. We would like to go again.
Curtis, anything you'd add to that?
Just getting to actually meet other people that go to the church, because there's so many people that
or even at different services
Put that close.
That I don't know.
There you got to use that.
That you just don't see on a regular basis. I mean, they just come in and, so big. So, and just getting to hear their stories and stuff like that.
It helped us plug in
And
more too,
The food's good.
to become active.
Food is good. It's just it's a lot of fun.
But it wasn't. It was something you guys didn't want to do, right?
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, and
I didn't want to go.
didn't want to go.
I'm glad I did.
Well, I think I wanted you guys to just hear. I stand up here all the time and tell you guys how awesome grow groups are, and how awesome it is to get connected to people in this place. And so right now I'm going to ask the ushers to come. You guys are going to have an opportunity. We're going to take an opportunity right now. They're going to hand out a card in or around your seats. You guys have this little Grace Church of the Nazarene Grow Group catalog. In here are catalogs of groups that are available for you to get a part of and be a part of. They have a number, and you'll get this card, and then, for example, I think the first group listed is the T-Burnts group, which is led by Mike and Christy T-Burnt. Their grow group number here on the left is S01, and the S stands for Sunday, means it meets on Sunday night. And that's the 01. So if you're interested in that grow group, there's a little description about the group that's on here. I'm just going to give you a little bit of time this morning to do that. Now, just go down the list. You might want to spend some time reading through that. Each one of you should get a card. When you get this card, please, here's what we want you to do. Just put your name and your phone number and your email. Obviously, you don't have to do this today, but we would love for you guys to consider coming to a grow group, whether that's Starting Point, some of the classes that we are. And really, if you've never been to a grow group, if you've never engaged in any kind of grow group before, we would really recommend that you start with Faith 101. And Faith 101 will give you a good foundation. It's where Curtis and Jessica started. They liked it so much they went through it twice. Went through it like the second time, and it's just a great way to connect with people for the first time. And there's no age limit, like Paul and Carol have said. I mean, get engaged. It doesn't matter if you've been in church for 5 minutes or you've been in church for 50 years. Take this card, put your name on it, write your phone number and email so that we can get you. Let us know if you have Facebook or not. Give us the first choice and second choice. The reason why we have that is just for the size of some groups may be too large, so we may have to hey, we'll get you in that one next time. But we'll want to do that. And so think about how you want to be engaged. Also, on the app, you can go, if you have the Grace Nazarene app, if you haven't downloaded that at the App Store, go do that. But you can go to the Grace Nazarene app and go to Connect on your app. And then from Connect, there's a button that says Grow Group, and you can pick Grow Group, and all of the Grow Groups are listed there. You can respond that way as well if you would rather respond on your phone versus handing this card or filling this card out. You don't have to do it today. If you want to take this home and pray about it, we're going to be doing this next week as well. We're going to give you an opportunity to get engaged in this place that we call Salem Grace and be a part of it, and not just come and sit in a pew and sit, and then in these Grow Groups, we can fulfill the Great Commission, and we can teach each other to obey what God has commanded, and we can do what He has asked us to do. So take that moment this morning and do that. If you have questions, Mark, is there anything else I'm missing? Okay, love it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Paul and Carol. Thank you, Curtis and Jessica. You guys can go to him. Thank you. You can take that with you. Okay. Seriously consider it. Get face to face. Be present and start to share from your heart with other Christian believers. And if you see people in red shirts, these are actually grow group leaders, people that have been willing, that said, hey, I'm willing to facilitate a group. I'm willing to lead a group. So if you see somebody with this shirt and you have questions about it, find somebody that has one of these shirts on. I promise you, you will not regret getting engaged with people that you worship with on a weekly basis. So let me pray for you this morning, church. Father, thank you so much for this place that we call Salem Grace. Thank you for this body of believers. Lord, help us to be intentional about engaging with other believers so that we can be a mighty force in this world. Lord, that together, through you working through us and for us learning what your commands say, and for our obedience, through our obedience and through our surrender to you, Lord, that we can be a dramatic influence in our community and those around us that are hurting and that are lost. Father, take us from this place this morning. Let us connect with each other. Thank you so much for loving us and for your grace and for your forgiveness. Your precious Holy